Those of you that have been following this channel for a while know that I have shot quite a lot of Olympus cameras when it comes to rangefinders. I've also dabbled with Yashicas, Nikons, Canons, Pentax, and even Minolta cameras. But one camera that you guys have always talked about in the comment section that I'd never tried was the Petri 7S. And I was delighted when I finally got my hands on this camera because it's, just by looking at it, it's a beautiful rangefinder from the same era as my Olympus cameras. This one was manufactured in 1963, 2 years after the Petri 7, which was what this is an upgrade from, right? So just in short, it's a rangefinder camera. You know, it's a fixed lens rangefinder camera with basically the same kind of range of characteristics as most of the good rangefinder cameras from that era. Now, it's not a Leica, as you know, but it is an affordable rangefinder camera that is good enough to take the photos that you need. The most impressive part of this camera is the light meter system, in my opinion. It's got an all-round the lens selenium cell, and which is uncoupled from the camera. It's just for information only. But there are two ways of looking at the light meter. There is a needle on top of the camera that sort of tells you, if you're overexposed or underexposed or perfectly exposed. So there's like a needle system that just sort of in an analog fashion goes up and down. A needle is also visible in the viewfinder, again, that just goes up and down and tells you if you're under or overexposed. From using this camera, it seems as though the light meter is still quite accurate on this one. Due to age, sometimes the selenium cells don't meter as well as they should, but this one seems to be doing okay. Just to go over some of the basic characteristics of this camera, it's got a 45mm f2.8 lens, which I find to be really, really nice. I love that focal length between 35 and 50. I find it really, really useful for street photography or taking pictures of friends and all of that from a reasonable distance. And the f2.8 is just more than you need for outdoor photography. You won't get the incredible bokehs you get on the 1.8s and 1.2s, but this is a nice street photography type holiday camera, so 2.8 is just fine. All the controls, apart from the shutter release and the wind, are on the lens, right? The first ring closer to the front of the lens is actually two rings in one. The outer part is how you change the shutter speed, and the inner part is how you change the ASA/ISO. To do that, you actually have to hold down the lever that's right at the bottom of the ring and move the shutter speed ring. It's kind of a janky way of doing it. You have to sort of hold one ring down, stop it from moving, and move the other one to change the settings. The ring in the middle, that's how you change the aperture. So that's the aperture ring here. It's the least convenient to use because the focusing lever is kind of in the way, and sometimes while you're changing the aperture, you may end up bumping the focus a little bit. So what I would do is I'll set the shutter speed and the aperture first, obviously before you focus. But then that's what most people do anyway. The third ring is, of course, the focusing ring. It's got a really short throw, and it's got this lever that helps you with the focusing. And of course, there's a coupled rangefinder, so in the viewfinder you can see the images overlapping as usual. Now, the Petri 7S has a special gimmick, I guess, to it. It's got something called the green-o-matic system, which is basically a gimmick to set it apart from most of the other cameras from the same era. But if you look closely, it's got that green frame around the rangefinder. What that does is it makes the rangefinder image more distinct from the viewfinder image, so you can focus more accurately. Actually, I quite like it. It gives that greenish yellow tint to the image that is sliding and makes focusing a little bit easier in complex light. Of course, it's got this beautiful half case, which is smooth leather, really good quality, and the straps is really, really awesome quality as well. And of course, it's got the cover case as well. And to put film in this camera, or to rewind the film once it's done, obviously you have to take off the half case to reveal the rewind button, or to be able to open the back of the camera to put the film in, and also to mount it on a tripod. You've got that tripod ring there. So that's basically it. It's a simple camera, but it feels really, really strong and well made. Feels like steel. I'm sure it's aluminium, but it really feels really strong and sturdy, and I can imagine this kind of camera was built to last, which is why I'm still holding one right now, even though it was made in 1963. So I popped some film in this camera and I took it downtown to shoot with, just to see how it feels again, and to see if indeed this aluminum meter was still working. I put one of these knockoff GoPro cameras on top of the accessory shoe, so it sort of looked something like that, and you know, it was a bit of a spectacle when I was using that downtown. It was kind of a sunny day, and most of the shots I shot were into the sun for whatever reason, so I didn't get the best quality photos I normally would, but it was mainly my fault because I think I wasn't paying that much attention to composition and art and that. I was just basically taking the pictures because I just wanted to get through the shots, and just see if the camera was working in the first place. Another thing I noticed is, even though it's a really, really good advanced lever, it has a kind of insecure feel to it. So sometimes I'd wind the film and I wouldn't be sure if I'd actually wound it or not. And I always felt that there's a bit of a danger of, overlapping some of the frames. Another thing is the shutter release is so subtle that sometimes I couldn't tell if or not I had taken a picture, and I ended up taking the same photo repeatedly because I would wind it again and take the photo again because I just didn't get enough feedback from pressing the shutter release back. Well, the photos, as usual, the photos are the same as long as you get the exposure right and it's a decent lens and a decent camera. You know how to use film and you know how to expose properly, and the light is good. Usually the actual photo is good. In this case, I think, of course, my photos suffered from my lack of focus on composition or looking for interesting subjects and shooting into the light and all of that. But all in all, I like this camera. It was a great experience, and I'm going to take it out again and shoot with it. Also coming up, I'm going to be handing this camera to someone to go out and shoot with, and we can record a video together and have some fun. Well, that's the Petri 7S. I finally understand what you guys are talking about. It's a great camera. It really, really rivals the Olympus cameras, and I absolutely love it. Okay, what do you think about this camera? If you've got one, let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.